I watched a god that nobody in this country had ever heard of walk into the greatest empire on earth and take all that he wanted.
Rise up! Get out from among my people! Just go!
That was the king of Egypt, begging. My name is Hori. I was there.
I remember the river, before I remember anything else. The Nile moved like it was carrying the sun on its back. We didn't worship it like a symbol. We believed it was alive. I was a records clerk in Pharaoh's store city system. I counted grain, logged labor, tracked shipments. I wasn't a soldier nor a priest, just a man who wrote things down. But that meant I saw everything. My son used to follow me to the harbor on shipment days. One morning he looked up at me and said, "Baba, does the whole world bring its gifts to Egypt?" I laughed. "Yes," I told him. "It always has. It always will."
Egypt at its height was the center of the world's imagination. Its temples were so vast that cathedrals built 3,000 years later would fit inside their courtyards. Traders from Mesopotamia, Nubia, the Aegean, they didn't come because they had to. They came because there was nowhere else like it. But Egypt's prosperity carried a cost most Egyptians never questioned. Beneath the temples and the grain records, there were hands, Hebrew hands. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick. Exodus 1:13-14. Most Egyptians did not think of it as cruelty. They thought of it as order.
I logged their quotas, 50 units per crew, per day. Someone else decided what happened when they fell short. That's what I told myself. Someone else decided. For years, that felt true enough to sleep on.
Into this world, a child was born to a Hebrew slave. His mother hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she built a basket of reeds, sealed it with pitch, and placed it on the Nile, the same river that fed empires, now carrying one child. Pharaoh's daughter found him. She knew what he was, a Hebrew child, destined for death by her own father's decree. She kept him anyway. She named him Moses, and so the man who would one day unmake Egypt was raised inside its palace.
Then one day he was gone. Rumors moved through the quarter the way rumors do in empires. Quietly, quickly. Something about a Hebrew laborer. Something about Moses. Something about a body in the sand. I marked it in no record. Neither did anyone else. That should tell you everything about Egypt.
Moses ran to Midian, a prince with blood on his hands and nowhere left to go. He sat down by a well. He had nothing. He was no one. For 40 years, Egypt's most wanted man became a shepherd in the desert. The ancient record states, "Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian." Exodus 3:1. The man raised in the greatest palace on earth, now counting sheep. 40 years of silence. Until the silence broke. Fire. Not consuming, not spreading, just burning. A bush that would not die. And from inside it, a voice. "Moses, Moses, I have seen the affliction of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cry. I know their sorrows. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh."
We heard nothing of Moses for 40 years. Egypt does not mourn what it erases. His name was removed from certain records. His face from certain walls. That is how empires handle embarrassment. They don't punish it. They delete it. Then the rumors started again. A man at the border. An old man, staff in hand, asking for an audience with Pharaoh, claiming to speak for the God of the Hebrews. We laughed. Egypt did not receive demands from desert wanderers.
Moses and Aaron came before Pharaoh. The throne room of Egypt was not designed for conversations. It was designed to make you feel small. Towering columns, gold everywhere, guards lining every wall. The message was architectural. You are nothing, he is everything. Moses delivered the message. "Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let my people go." Pharaoh's answer was immediate.
"Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go."
Exodus 5:2. That answer, those exact words, would define everything that followed.
I was in the records hall when the first sign came. Someone ran in from the river, face white, mouth open, no words, just pointing, back toward the Nile. I remember walking to the river that morning. The smell reached me before the color did. Thick, copper. The same smell I would later learn had a name in Hebrew. Damp. Blood.
The Nile was not simply Egypt's water supply, it was Egypt's god. Hapi, the god of the Nile, was worshipped as the source of all life. The first plague was not an inconvenience. It was a direct confrontation. The god of a nation of slaves had just killed Egypt's most powerful deity, and Pharaoh hardened his heart.
We dug wells along the bank for 7 days, trying to find clean water beneath the ground. Some found it. Most didn't. I watched a woman give her child river water on the 3rd day. She had nothing else. I wrote nothing about it in my records. What category would I put it in?
Pharaoh's magicians replicated the sign. They turned more water to blood, and Pharaoh walked away. Think about that. His solution to blood in the water was more blood in the water, and he called it a victory. Then came the frogs. Not a few, not scattered, everywhere. The ancient record says they covered every surface, in the houses, in the bedrooms, in the beds, in the ovens, in the kneading bowls, on the people themselves. Egypt could not move without touching one.
Pharaoh called for Moses. For the first time, he asked for something. Pray to your God, remove the frogs, and I will let the people go. Moses asked him, when shall I pray? You choose the time. Pharaoh said, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Not tonight. Tomorrow. He chose one more night with the frogs rather than ask for immediate relief. Even then, pride would not let him rush.
The frogs died. Egypt gathered them into heaps, and the land stank. And Pharaoh saw that there was relief, and hardened his heart. Exodus 8:15. Every warning removed became a reason to refuse the next one. Relief did not produce gratitude. It produced confidence. Maybe we can outlast this.
After the frogs, I told myself, it is over. He will listen now. After the lice, I told myself, surely now. After the flies, I told myself, this cannot continue. I kept telling myself things. That is what people do when they live inside a system that will not change. They find reasons to believe it will fix itself.
Lice from the dust, then flies so thick they filled every house, then disease that swept through Egypt's livestock. Cattle, horses, donkeys, camels, dead in the fields, the Hebrew livestock, untouched, every plague drawing a visible line. This side, that side, protected, destroyed, and still Pharaoh's heart was hard. Then Moses took handfuls of ash from a furnace and threw it toward the sky before Pharaoh, and it became boils, festering sores breaking out on every Egyptian, on the people, on the animals that remained, on the magicians themselves, who could no longer even stand before Moses.
My son developed the sores on the 4th day. Small at first. He didn't complain. He was that kind of boy. I told him it would pass. I believed it would pass. I needed to believe it would pass.
6 plagues, 6 warnings, 6 opportunities. And after every single one, Pharaoh hardened his heart. The ancient record asks us to sit with that, not to rush past it. Not 6 mistakes, 6 choices. How many warnings does a man need before we stop calling it a mistake and start calling it decision?
If you have stayed this long, you already know this is not an ordinary story. What is coming next you will not want to miss. Click subscribe now, like and share this testimony so that when the next record is opened, you are already in the room.
Moses stretched his staff toward heaven, and the sky answered. Thunder like Egypt had never heard. Then hail, not scattered, not seasonal. A storm so violent the ancient record calls it the worst in Egypt's entire history.
I had never been afraid of weather before. Egyptians understood weather. We predicted the floods. We tracked the seasons. We built our entire civilization around reading the sky. But this sky, nobody had ever read this sky before.
But Moses had warned them. Before the first stone fell, he told every Egyptian who feared the word of God to bring their servants and livestock inside. The ancient record says, some listened. He that feared the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his cattle flee into the houses. Exodus 9:20. Some Egyptians were already beginning to choose. The flax was destroyed. The barley was destroyed. The wheat and spelt survived only because they had not yet grown. Egypt had just lost its harvest. Not damaged, not reduced. Gone.
Pharaoh called Moses again. This time he said words I had never heard from a Pharaoh's mouth.
I have sinned.
I have sinned.
The Lord is righteous.
The Lord is righteous.
My people.
My people are wicked. I was standing close enough to hear it. I watched the words leave his mouth. I watched them mean nothing.
Moses walked out of the city, stretched his hands toward heaven. The thunder stopped. The hail stopped. The rain stopped. And Pharaoh saw that the storm had ended and sinned yet again. Exodus 9:34. Relief. Then hardness. Every single time.
After the hail, I stopped writing certain things in my records. Not because I was ordered to, because I no longer knew what to call what I was seeing. There is no category in Pharaoh's record system for a god that wins.
Then came the locusts. Moses warned Pharaoh's own officials first, and for the first time, the officials pushed back against their king. How long shall this man be a snare to us? Let the men go. Do you not yet know that Egypt is destroyed? Exodus 10:7. Even Pharaoh's own court could see it. Everyone except Pharaoh. The locusts came on an east wind. The ancient record says they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened. They ate every plant the hail had left standing, every tree, every fruit. Nothing green remained in all of Egypt. Exodus 10:15.
My son asked me why the Hebrew children were not afraid. I told him it was because they didn't understand what was happening. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, "Or they know something we don't." He was 9 years old.
Pharaoh called Moses, "I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Forgive my sin only this once." Exodus 10:16-17. Only this once. As if he had a ledger, as if mercy was a transaction, as if God was another official to be managed. Moses prayed. A strong west wind took the locusts and drove them into the Red Sea. Not one locust remained in all of Egypt, and Pharaoh hardened his heart. He would not let the people go. Exodus 10:19-20.
8 plagues. And I was still going to work every morning. Still logging what remained to log. Still telling myself this was temporary. That is the thing about living inside collapse. It happens slowly enough that you keep making plans.
Then Moses stretched his hand toward heaven, and there was thick darkness over all the land of Egypt. 3 days. Not night darkness, not storm darkness. The ancient record says, a darkness which may be felt. Exodus 10:21-22.
3 days. I did not see my son's face. I knew he was there. I could hear him breathing. I held his hand in the dark, but I could not see him. 3 days. That should have been enough. That should have been more than enough.
Ra, the sun god, the supreme deity of Egypt, the god Pharaoh himself claimed to embody on earth. For 3 days, Ra did not rise. This was not weather. This was not astronomy. This was a direct answer to the question Pharaoh asked at the very beginning. Who is the Lord?
When the light came back, I walked outside and stood in the sun for a long time. I let it hit my face. I had never been grateful for the sun before. You don't thank things you believe will always be there. Until one morning, they almost weren't.
Pharaoh called Moses one final time after the darkness. He was willing to let the people go, all of them, even the children. But he demanded the livestock stay. Moses refused. Not one hoof would remain. Pharaoh's response was immediate. Get away from me. The day you see my face again, you will die. Exodus 10:28. 9 plagues, and this is where Pharaoh drew his line.
Moses walked out of the palace that day, and something in the city felt different. Not quieter, not louder, just final. Like the moment before a door closes, when you can still stop it, but you don't.
That night, Moses delivered the final warning. Not to Pharaoh. Pharaoh had made his choice. This warning was for the Hebrews. Take a lamb, unblemished. Slaughter it at twilight. Take the blood and paint it on your doorposts. For tonight, the Lord will pass through Egypt.
Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of slave girl behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle.
Then the ancient record says something extraordinary. Moses left Pharaoh in great anger. Exodus 11:8. This man who had stood calm through 9 plagues, this man who had absorbed every rejection without breaking, walked out angry, not because he had lost, because he knew exactly what Pharaoh had just chosen, and who would pay for it.
That evening, the Hebrew quarter went quiet in a way I had never heard before. Not the quiet of fear, not the quiet of exhaustion, something else, like a people holding their breath together, like they knew something was coming and had been told exactly what to do about it.
Take a lamb without blemish, slaughter it at twilight. Take the blood and strike it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel. Eat the meat roasted with fire, with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. For the Lord says, I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you.
The instructions were ancient in their precision. A lamb without blemish, blood on the doorposts and the lintel, eaten in haste, dressed and ready to move. This was not a ritual designed for comfort. It was designed for people on the edge of departure. Every detail said the same thing. Be ready.
I did not sleep that night. I sat with my son until he fell asleep. Then I sat in the dark and listened to the city. I don't know what I was waiting for. I think part of me already knew.
At midnight, the Lord struck every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. Exodus 12:29. No plague before this had touched the palace. No plague before this had been this silent. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians. And there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. Exodus 12:30.
I heard the cry begin, far away
Wake up,
first,
son.
then closer, then next door.
Gods, no.
I turned to my son. He was still, too still. I said his name. He did not answer. I will not describe what came next. Some things belong only to the fathers who lived them. I will only tell you this. By the time morning came, I understood something I could not have understood before. Pharaoh's choices had a cost, and ordinary people paid it.
Rise up, get out from among my people, both you and the children of Israel. Go, serve the Lord as you have said. Take your flocks, take your herds, and be gone.
The Egyptians urged the people out with haste. They said, "We are all dead men." Exodus 12:33. And they gave them silver and gold and clothing. Whatever the Israelites asked for, the Egyptians gave. A nation stripped of its pride, giving away its wealth to the people it had enslaved for 430 years. Exodus 12:40-41.
I watched them leave from my window. 600,000 men. And that was only the men, women, children, elderly, livestock. A nation walking out of Egypt in the dark. I had logged their labor quotas for years. Now I was watching them carry everything we had given them. Walk away. And nobody stopped them. Nobody even tried.
God did not lead them by the short road. The direct route to Canaan ran through Philistine territory. The ancient record tells us plainly. God said, "Lest the people change their minds when they see war, and return to Egypt." Exodus 13:17. He knew them. He led them through the wilderness instead. By day, a pillar of cloud. By night, a pillar of fire, so they could travel day or night. He never left the front of the column.
3 days after they left, everything changed again. A messenger came to the administrative quarter. Pharaoh had changed his mind. The king, who had wept in a corridor, had put his armor back on.
Pharaoh took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, with captains over every one of them. Exodus 14:7. The grief of one night could not hold against the pride of a lifetime. He had let them go. Now he wanted them back. Israel looked up and saw the Egyptian army coming. Chariots, horsemen, all of Pharaoh's forces, and before them, the Red Sea. The ancient record says they were exceedingly afraid, and they cried out to the Lord. Then they turned on Moses. "Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness?" Exodus 14:10-11.
Fear you not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace.
Moses stretched his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. Exodus 14:21. A wall of water on their right, a wall of water on their left. And the children of Israel walked into the middle of the sea, on dry ground.
I was not there. I heard it from a soldier who was. He said they followed them in. He said they thought the path would hold. He said when the wheels started coming off the chariots, men began saying things out loud that Egyptians never say, that the God of the Hebrews was fighting against them. Those were Egyptian soldiers saying that, men who had never feared any god in their lives.
Moses stretched his hand over the sea again, and the sea returned to its full depth. The chariots, the horsemen, all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them, there remained not so much as one of them. Exodus 14:27-28. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Exodus 14:31.
The soldier who told me about the sea, I never saw him again after that morning. I don't know if he went back to the water to look. I don't know if he just kept walking. Some men, when they see something that breaks everything they believed, they don't come home the same way they left. Some don't come home at all.
On the other side of the sea, Moses sang. The entire nation sang with him. The ancient record preserves every word. I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. 430 years of silence finally had a voice. Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her, with tambourines and with dancing. And Miriam answered them, Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. Exodus 15:20-21.
Heard no singing on our side. The city that morning was the quietest I had ever known it. No market noise, no harbor sounds, no administrative bells, just people inside their houses, sitting with what had happened. Egypt had always been loud with its own importance. That morning, it had nothing left to say. I went to work that morning. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. Or maybe I needed to see if the records hall was still there, if the papyrus was still there, if the system I had given my life to still existed. It did. But half the desks were empty, and nobody spoke above a whisper. I sat at my desk for a long time that morning. My son's name was Amenhotep. It means, Amun is satisfied. I named him after a god that could not protect him, from a god it had never heard of.
Egypt did not collapse overnight. Empires rarely do. The temples were still standing, the Nile still flooded on schedule, the grain still grew, but something had shifted at the foundation. A civilization built on the belief that Pharaoh was a god had just watched its god lose. Publicly, completely, irreversibly. The ancient record closes Moses' story with words that have stood for 3,000 years. There has not arisen a prophet since in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. In all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants, to all his land. And in all the mighty power and all the great deeds of terror that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. Deuteronomy 34:10-12.
I never saw Moses again. Nobody in Egypt did. He walked out of this country with 2 million people, and the sea closed behind him. Like a door, like a chapter, like a verdict. I have thought about Pharaoh many times since then. Not with anger, not even with blame. He was not a stupid man. He was not a cruel man, not in the way people say. He was a man who had been told his whole life that he was above consequence, and he believed it. That is the most dangerous thing one human being can tell another. My son asked me once, before everything, if the whole world brought its gifts to Egypt. I told him yes. It always had. It always would. I was wrong about the second part, but I want you to know, he was right about the first. The whole world did come to Egypt, including the god of a nation of slaves. And Egypt was never the same again.
Before I close this record, I want to ask you something. Not about Moses, not about Pharaoh, about you. Because this story is not really about Egypt, it is about what happens when warning arrives and power decides it is the exception. You are living inside a story right now. You have warnings arriving that you are naming something else. Inconveniences, bad luck, timing. Pharaoh had names for his warnings too. He called them manageable, until the morning he couldn't manage anymore.
Egypt had everything. Beauty, power, history, prosperity. And it lost it. Not because it was weak, but because it confused strength with immunity. What are you confusing right now?
If you made it to the end of this video, it means you yearn for life lessons that only biblical history can give. Please like and subscribe so you won't miss the next story we uncover.